Let's dig deep. The first question here. Here's one. What is the science on co-regulatory breathing? To breathe together in a group. Anyone who has done breath work knows that something special happens when you breathe next to one another. There have been studies that have looked at heart rate variability in singing. And when you're singing together at the same time, you're also breathing together at the same time. And heart rates tend to sync. I don't know of any study that has looked at groups of people breathing. Look what happens to their physiology and their brain waves and their blood pressure, but I bet there is some response. The next question here. Here it is. On the topic of chewing, what foods are good? Well, let's talk about what foods are bad. Anything soft and processed is bad. Just think of what your great-great-great-great-great-grandparents were eating and eat that food. It's not that hard. So carrots are good, especially if you're a vegetarian or vegan. If you're a meat eater, meat is good. Anything that gets that masticatory stress going is going to be beneficial. You're going to notice something when you're chewing. You don't chew on both sides of the mouth. That's something you do when you're stressed out. You chew on one side and then the other side. It's that side to side chewing that elicits that parasympathetic response, that relaxation response that helps growth, among other things. Next question here. Oh, whoa. This is a 5-part question. I'm going to start with the first part, see what happens. I do a lot of running and find that nasal breathing, A, is much harder than mouth breathing while running. B, produces a lot of phlegm that I quickly need to get out. Will this change over time? The answer for this question is, depends on who you are, depends on how you run, depends on a bunch of other factors. What we found is most times it takes about 2 to 4 weeks, maybe even longer, for people to get comfortable with nasal breathing while they're running. Some people can take months and months and months. What you're gonna find is your performance is actually gonna go down at the beginning, which is why a lot of people give up on it after a couple days. But if you stick with it, the science has shown us that your performance will tend to go up once you've converted to nasal breathing, and your recovery times can be cut in half just by switching the pathway through which you breathe air. Because when you're breathing through the nose, you're operating much more efficiently, which is very important while you're exercising. The next question from someone else: is the goal to always do the box breathing? No, the goal is not to live your life box breathing. You won't be able to eat or to talk or to function like a normal human. Box breathing is an exercise, which means you should do it for a controlled amount of time and then go on with your day. For the same reason you wouldn't go to a gym and work out 24 hours a day, you should not put your body through the gym, your respiratory system through the gym all the time. This is something to reset your respiration. Do it when you're stressed out. You can do it when you're excited. You can do it before you go to bed, but not something to train yourself to do all the time. Next question, it's sitting right up here magically. Mouth taping induces teeth grinding. Any help? Not for most people. It does not induce teeth grinding or bruxism. So for some people, that mouth tape is stressful, and a stress response that we have to it, some people have to it, is to grind their teeth. These are two separate things. I would strongly urge anyone who has bruxism, teeth grinding, to find a way not doing that. There's usually an underlying cause to teeth grinding. Sometimes it has to do with people having a closed throat, so they're struggling to breathe. Guess what happens when you clench? You open your throat. So it's oftentimes aligned with that, with sleep disorder breathing. It can be aligned with stress as well. So you figure out the core problem, bruxism will go away. I haven't heard this very much at all, but I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It's just I would look for another cause other than mouth breathing or mouth tape. We're gonna dig deep here. Okay, it's bit of a long one. How affected does the quality of the nose breath become if someone has been using drugs such as cocaine or methamphetamines up their nose? I'm not sure how to answer that. I do know that extended use of cocaine can degrade the tissues and other structures in the nose. Stevie Nicks of Fleetwood Mac was quite famous for having this problem. I think this is a personal issue. I would be much more concerned about the use of cocaine and methamphetamines than mouth breathing or nasal breathing. So focus on not using that stuff first, and then you can get down to your healthy breathing. Let's take this one. Okay. What is the connection between nose breathing and toilet visits at night? So when you breathe through the mouth, you tend to stress your body out, and more than 60% of us breathe through the mouth when we sleep. What happens is the body struggles to enter into those states of a deeper sleep where we release this hormone called vasopressin. Vasopressin is the hormone that allows us to store water. This is why my dog can go to sleep at 6 at night and not wake up until 6 a.m. and not have to go outside. So humans have that same function. When we're constantly stressed and we're waking up, that hormone is not released in adequate amounts. So we have to keep getting up and going to the bathroom, which is one reason why so many people, when they start nasal breathing and sleeping better, notice they don't have to go to the bathroom half as much as they did before. So another benefit of nasal breathing at night. Next question. Subconsciously, I was taught as a young girl to hold my stomach in. At the age of 40, I finally got into yoga and learned the correct breathing. How does this affect young women's health or women in general? Well, I hate to tell you, it is not just women who suck in their stomachs, okay? There are a lot of vain dudes out there who also breathe this way. If you see these pictures of these guys with these six-pack abs and they're holding everything in all the time, this, may look good for that picture, but in the long run, it's going to be deleterious to their health. You don't want to have your stomach always in. That means your diaphragm can't descend easily, and you can't get that soft, easy breath. So if you're concerned about looking better, think about looking better in the long run. That is being alive longer, which is what these healthier breaths will allow you to do. To really relax the gut, not to have that emotional corset. That's a term that some breathing coaches use, where everyone holds everything inside. But just relax it. No one's looking at you. You're okay. Next question. Thoughts on the physiological sigh that is used in yoga? Yes, I do have thoughts on that. The physiological sigh is this. Two breaths, one on top of the other. This resets the respiratory system. It also allows you to access more oxygen. Imagine having a balloon. When you blow into a balloon, that first breath usually doesn't inflate the balloon, which is why you go. That second breath inflates the balloon. Well, we have 400 to 500 million little balloons in our lungs. They're called the alveoli. And when we blow in twice, we're able to inflate them efficiently and get the most oxygen. This is also very relaxing to the body. You let it naturally go out. You don't force it out. You can use this anytime you're stressed, in traffic, in line to get a coffee when they're taking too long, when someone says something you don't like. Use that physiological sigh. You can only imagine how well that works. And you can see the data on that too by Dr. Andrew Huberman, who has studied this extensively. Okay, next question. What is the most, profound change in your life often discovered after you discover the power of connecting with your breath? There is no answer to this question because it depends on the person. Some people who have asthma notice reduced symptoms. Some people also notice that they have no symptoms at all after a few months. Same thing with panic, anxiety, depression. That doesn't mean what worked for them is going to work for you. The good thing about breathing is you will only have benefits from it. There are no negative side effects. The benefits may be that big or they may be transformative. Only you will know once you do it. Have you come across any studies or results on epilepsy in your research? Yes, I have, and all of this got cut out of the book, which I was not too happy about. So there was a ton of research about 100 years ago looking into carbon dioxide therapy and epilepsy. And what they would do is they would give these epileptics a combination of CO2 and oxygen, which they felt could help reset their brains. It would flood all of their blood vessels in their brain and all the cells with oxygen to help reset them. It worked incredibly well, and then all of that research just went away. You can explore for epilepsy the ketogenic diet. There's more than 100 years of research on that as well. I think if you combine that with healthy breathing, you could really see some improvements. But for keto, I've seen people who had kids who were severe epileptics who no longer have epilepsy from a ketogenic diet. Next question. If you could only give one advice on breathing, what would it be? Breathe through your nose. Next question. Is it possible to increase the size of the lower part of the mouth as you did with the upper? Yes, it is. So the upper part, the upper palate, much easier because you have a suture up there and you can stretch it out at any age. The lower doesn't have a suture, right? So how do you move that jaw forward? There are many devices that do this. They've been around for more than 100 years. There are many dentists who do these procedures. There are surgeries as well. I won't show you a video of those surgeries because I did last night and it didn't go over very well, but they tend to move the jaw forward. What happened when you move the jaw forward? You open up the airway, which is why this is so effective for snoring and sleep apnea. Having that larger airway, easier to breathe. Next question. Difficulties when moving from mouth to nose breathing and are hard to overcome, especially during allergy season. Yes, it's going to take you a long time. Most people don't need surgery, but some people do. So some people can really find benefits from turbinectomies and septum surgeries, septoplasties. But what I've found, and I've heard this from many ENTs who do these surgeries, they said most people just need to learn how to breathe through their nose. If you have a chronically stuffed nose, you need to find the reason why you have a chronically stuffed nose. Is it from eating dairy? Is it from just seasonal allergies or hay fever? What's the reason? And then you can go in deeper to find that core reason and to fix it, and then you will be able to breathe better through your nose. But I'm more convinced now than ever that if you are not breathing most of the breaths through your nose, it doesn't have to be all of them, you will never be healthy, no matter what you eat, no matter how much you exercise. Next question. To James Nestor, that's me. Is there anything that you have learned after writing the book that you wish you would have learned earlier so you could add it to the book? Yes, there are many things, and I'm learning so much more about breathing, but that is science for you, everybody. Science is constantly changing. We're constantly learning new things. I did what I could with the time I had to include as much of this science in the book, but of course we're learning new things all the time, and I'm learning new things all the time, and I'm able to process them and to answer questions with this new research, but I'm not going to write a breath to book. Even though Breathe Deeper is quite a good title, will never be used by me. Someone else will do that. Okay, 2 questions. You like that? When they get sneaky, they put in 2. I've tried sleep tape, but was waking up frequently with small nosebleeds. Is this normal? I've never heard of that. What I would suggest anyone do before you use sleep tape or tape at night, next time you're sitting at a computer, Get that little piece of tape, put it on your mouth for 20 minutes. And then keep that little piece of tape on your mouth for 40 minutes the next day and 60 minutes. You see where I'm going with this. Until you're very, very comfortable using that piece of tape in the daytime while you are conscious. Become an obligate nasal breather in the day before you ever try to do it at night. I have a feeling that those small nosebleeds are from some irritation because you're not used to breathing through your nose. The nose will acclimate the more you use it. So good luck with that. Number 2, when trying to breathe through the nose, I constantly find myself clenching my jaw. So we see what the issue is here with question number 2. So this person sounds to me like she or he was very rarely a nasal breather and is trying to rush into this. The body needs time and needs to acclimate to things very slowly. So I would highly suggest going slowly into this stuff. Try nasal breathing for 10 minutes. While you're walking, try it for 20 steps, then go back to mouth breathing, but very slowly work up to this. Some nasal sprays, saline solution is very good. If you have a very dry nose, you can try that out, but slow and steady is the key. We have 2 more questions here. The second to last question is, do you recommend any specific breathing methods or patterns during physical activity to improve power, endurance, or other aspects of physical performance? I recommend dozens and dozens of them. So I have no one recommendation because there are different levels of physical activity. There's walking, there's lawn bowling, there's playing pool, there is swimming. All of them require a slightly different kind of breathing. What you want to be careful about doing any physical activity is not to be over breathing, which is why nasal breathing is so beneficial, especially while walking and jogging, but work up to it slowly. I thought this was the last question. I lie. Oops. There's 3 more. They're gonna be quick. What about chewing gum? Chewing gum's great. Unless you have TMJ issues, which are temporomandibular joint disorders or problems. A lot of people have this who have braces or headgear. What happens when you're in early stages of development? Dentists put on headgear and it moves your jaw back and this joint gets out of alignment, which is why you open your mouth, you hear this popping sound or you feel pain back here. This is so common. So if you have TMJ issues, do not chew gum for 4 hours a day. It's not gonna make things better. You have to figure out what the cause of that TMJ issue is and fix that first. Then you can use chewing gum. I like the sugar-free, very hard chewing gum called Film. It's this Turkish weird stuff. It works great for me, but you can use any kind of gum you want as long as you don't have TMJ issues. Next question. This is really the second to last question here. Can you be a better breather by only using your nose when you are jogging? Yes, you can. Just by using your nose, you're going to be controlling that air and humidifying that air. You're going to save about 40% more moisture, more humidity by breathing in and out of your nose. So if you're one of those joggers that cruises around and you're constantly thirsty and you carry a water bottle with you, you won't need that if you're breathing through your nose. We are designed to run for long distances without carrying water bottles, especially if you're just going out to run a few kilometers. This is the last question. And here it is. Some people with chronic migraines get treated with Botox in their jaw muscles. Is this something that affects the jaw and breathing? Referring to the topic about using the jaw less for softer food, it's interesting to end with a question that I have absolutely no answer to. I do not know how chronic migraines are helped by Botox. What I think is happening is the Botox is numbing or allowing those nerves not to function in the jaw, so you don't clench, and that over clenching can create a migraine it seems like a much better approach to find out what the cause of that jaw clenching is, and to stop jaw clenching, then you won't have a headache. But if Botox works for you, that's fine. I don't know how that affects your breathing. Thank you very much.